towards this territory and for helping us, dear God, as a nation to maneuver through these challenging times. In a special way, dear God, we invite your presence at the 13th sitting of the third session of the 4th House of Assembly of the Virgin Islands as we discuss the budget. I pray, dear God, in a special way that your divine presence may permeate the atmosphere, and whatever decisions is made today, I pray that it will bring glory and honor unto your name. Continue to be with each and every one of us, be with every member of the House of Assembly, and I pray that everything that is said and done will be pleasing in your sight. We thank you and we give you the praise. In Jesus' precious name I pray. Amen.
Please be seated. This Honorable House is now in session. I call upon the clerk.
Item number 2, confirmation of minutes.
Honorable members, is it your wish that the minutes of the meeting held on Thursday, 12th August 2021 be confirmed as circulated? With no dissenting voice, the minutes of the meeting held on Thursday, 12th August 2021 is hereby confirmed. I call upon the clerk.
Item number 3, announcements by the Speaker.
A pleasant good morning to honorable members, Premier and Minister of Finance, Leader of the Opposition, and other honorable members. I welcome our special guests to the gallery, including the Deputy Governor David D. Archer Jr. and Dr. Alison Archer, former legislators, the Diplomatic Corps, the Financial Secretary. I also recognize the First Lady, Mrs. Sheila E. Forbes Foy, other spouses, thanks for coming. I welcome other senior public officers, permanent secretaries, chairs, and heads of statutory bodies, heads of department, the legal fraternity, friends and family from the Sister Islands, staff of the House of Assembly, captains of industry, other persons from the private sector, the clergy, members of the Virgin Islands Youth Parliament, students from the Brigada Flax Educational Center, both the secondary and primary divisions, the media, and all others. Today marks another historic day in the Virgin Islands when the Minister of Finance delivered to the people the budget address. I want to take this time to congratulate the Honorable Minister of Finance on his 4th budget address in less than 3 years. I regret to announce that the Virgin Islands Youth Parliament and scheduled for November 30th, 2021 has been postponed until further notice. We have also restructured the Management Committee of the Virgin Islands Youth Parliament, and you will be hearing more about that in the coming days. During the budget address this morning, I will allow visitors in the gallery and overflow tents wishing to show their support to clap, and honorable members in the well of the House, you are permitted to tap your desk. I also bring apologies on behalf of the Honorable Minister for Natural Resources, Labor and Immigration, who could not be here today, and he is away on official business. Finally, within the last 2 weeks, there has been much political discourse on matters involving the Speaker of this Honorable House. I strongly believe speakers and governors should never enter the space. I'll start over that short portion. I strongly believe speakers and governors should enter the political space. They must maintain the dignity and integrity of their good offices as much as practical, and they should be seen and not heard. But there are now compelling reasons for me to clear the air relating to certain issues, and I will do that in the coming days at a time and place of my choosing. I close with just a short history lessons, particularly for our students from the Brigada Flax Educational Center. The first speaker in the United Kingdom was appointed around the 13th century, and the role of the speaker in the United Kingdom was to take messages from the Parliament to the King, hence the name Speaker. Between 1394 and 1595, there were about 6 to 8 speakers who were executed or beheaded by the King, some even after they left office, and many of their bodies thrown from the Tower of London. So no one wanted to be speaker, because if you took a message from Parliament to the King and it was a message he did not like, that was your death sentence. So the job of speaker was the most unpopular post back in those days. In fact, during the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries, when Parliament convened, the nominee to the speaker's chair, because it was literally a job that no one wanted, and most often it led to your death. If the wrong Parliament, the speaker to the King. Wrong Speaker of the House in England, Sir Thomas More, was given the task of taking to King Henry So the job of speaker was the most unpopular post. In fact, during the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries, when the Parliament convened, they physically had to drag the nominee to the speaker's chair, because it was literally a job that no one wanted and most often led to your death if the wrong message came from Parliament through the speaker to the King. Around 1535, Speaker of the House in England, Sir Thomas More, was given the task of taking to King Henry VIII that Parliament had voted that he was not the legitimate head of the Church of England. Speaker More had a long and distinguished career, even at one point being the special advisor to King Henry. However, this task about the legitimacy of King and the Church of England, according to a historian, was so serious that it was not until after he left office he took the message to the King. The same King who knighted him, put him on trial, and executed him. He was beheaded before his death. However, one of the executioners asked him if he had any last word to send back to Parliament. And according to one historian, he said, "Rather than power, than money, than fame, give me truth." With that said, I call upon the clerk.
Item number 4, statements by ministers.
I call upon the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, whereas Standing Order 11 of the House of Assembly, Standing Order outlines for each sitting the order of business of the House of Assembly unless the Speaker, after consultation with the leader of government business, otherwise directs. Now therefore be it resolved that this House, Honorable House, directs that the business of the order of the day, as outlined in Standing Order 11B, for the purposes of this 13th sitting of the 3rd session of the 4th House of Assembly, vary to allow for item 4, statements by ministers to be taken immediately after item 7(1) Roman numeral 5 on the order of the day.
Mr. Speaker, I raise the second motion.
It has been moved and seconded that It has been moved and seconded that statement by ministers be taken immediately after item 7.1, Roman numeral 5. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I call upon the clerk.
Item number 5, presentation of papers.
I call upon the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance to lay his documents on the table.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I lay on the table the following documents. 1, Statutory Instrument 2021, number 132, a proclamation by the Governor under Section 83, subsection 1 of the Virgin Islands Constitution Order 2007, UKSI 2007, number 1678, appointing the time and place at which the 13th sitting of the 3rd session of the 4th House of Assembly of the Virgin Islands shall be held. 2, Complaints Commission Annual Report 2020. 3, Complaints Commission Statement of Accounts. 4, National Bank of the Virgin Islands Annual Report 2019. 5, Government of the Virgin Islands Medium-Term Fiscal Plan 2022 to 2024. 6, Telecommunications Regulatory Commission Annual Work Plan and Budget 2021-2022. 7, British Virgin Islands Financial Services Commission Annual Submission by the External Commissioners. 8, British Virgin Islands Financial Services Commission Annual Report 2020. 9, British Virgin Islands Financial Services Commission Revenue and Expenditure Budget 2022. 10, British Virgin Islands Financial Services Commission Strategic Work Plan 2022. 11, Statutory Instrument 2021, number 123, Imposition of a Curfew, number 15, Order 2021. And 12, Statutory Instrument 2021, number 128, Imposition of a Curfew, number 15, Revocation Order 2021.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Premier. Is there any member wishing to debate statutory instruments number 123 and 128? Hearing none, I invite the Honorable Minister for Transportation, Work and Utilities to lay his documents on the table.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to lay on the table the following documents. 1, Water and Sewage Department's Annual Report 2019, and 2, Water and Sewage Department Annual Report 2020.
I call on the Honorable Premier to lay the Minister of Natural Resources, Labour and Immigration's document on the table.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that the Minister of Natural Resources and Labour is away on official travel, I'll lay on the table the following on his behalf. Immigration Department Annual Report 2014.
Thank you. I call on the Honorable Minister for Health and Social Development to lay his documents on the table.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to lay on the table the following documents. Number 1, Statutory Instrument 2021, number 122, Public Health, COVID-19 Control Suppression Measures. Number 4, Amendment number 9, Order 2021. Second document, Mr. Speaker, Statutory Instrument 2021, number 124, COVID-19 Control and Suppression Entry of Persons. Number 3, Amendment number 3, Regulations 2021. And the third document, Mr. Speaker, Statutory Instrument 2021, number 127, Public Health, COVID-19 Control and Suppression Measures. Number 4, Amendment number 10, Order 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. I call upon the clerk.
Item number 6, notices of motions given orally.
I call on the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance to give notice.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to give notice that at a later stage in the proceedings, I would seek leave to move the motion standing in my name under items 7.1, Roman numeral 1 through 7 on the order of the day.
Seven, public business. 1, government business.
I call upon the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that leave be granted to introduce the following bill standing in my name shortly, entitled Appropriation 2022 Act 2021. Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that leave to introduce the bill shortly entitled Appropriation 2021 Act 2021 be granted. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I call upon the Honorable Premier. Appropriation 2022 Act 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I introduce the bill standing in my name shortly, entitled Appropriation 2022 Act 2021, and will explain its provisions at the second reading. Mr. Speaker, so I move that the bill shortly entitled Appropriation 2022 Act 2021 be now read a first time.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill shortly entitled Appropriation 2022 Act 2021 be now read a first time. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I therefore call upon the clerk to read the bill for the first time.
This act may be cited as the Appropriation 2022 Act 2021 and shall be deemed to come into force on the first day of January 2022.
Thank you. I call upon the Premier in regards to suspension of the standing orders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the standing order number 52, subsection 2, be suspended to allow for the bill shortly entitled Appropriation 2022 Act 2021 to be read a second time.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that standing order number 52-2 be suspended to allow the bill entitled Appropriation 2022 Act 2021 to be read a second time. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. The motion is passed. I call again upon the Honorable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled Appropriation 2022 Act 2021 be read a second time, and I also seek leave to give the budget address.
Thank you. Before we invite the Premier to give the budget address, we will have a 2-minute recess. This Honorable House is now in recess. Please remain standing. This Honorable House now resumes. The high honor is mine to invite the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Andrew Foy, to deliver the 2022 budget address. Please be seated.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I for sure know that we're in the Virgin Islands when I heard that a car is blocking at an event. It is important that I begin this budget address from the words of Abba our Father as found in Luke 12:8. And I tell you, everyone who acknowledges me before men, the Son of Man, also will acknowledge before the angels of God. I thank God for his continued strength as we turn this budget address over into his hands. I say good day and God's blessings to all honorable members of this honorable house and all the people of these beautiful Virgin Islands, wherever they may be, as we continue to move forward in this new regular living and walking with COVID-19. Together we continue to confront all the challenges and embracing opportunities that this unpredictable pandemic has thrown and continues to throw our way. I'm pleased and proud as a Virgin Islander to stand today to present this fourth national budget in under 3 years, and to do so with sufficient time in hand for all the necessary processes to be completed so that everything will be in place for the start of the new financial year in January 2022. Simply put, since taking office, all our budgets have passed on time as mandated by the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, it's important for us as a young country to bear in mind the symbolism of what is for a people to develop, present, approve, and implement their own budget, especially when they are able to generate the funds and to balance their budget for themselves year after year after year. It is something to be proud of, to be inspired by, and to be encouraged. For this empowerment, we thank our forefathers, our foreparents. Let us join in paying tribute to our foreparents who started and maintained the course on the journey to ensuring that the Virgin Islands people are empowered to pursue their aspirations of being fully in control of their destiny. It was the late Theodore Faulkner of Anegada and other great Virgin Islands leaders who made the bold and unequivocal declaration on 24th November 1949. And I quote, "We are imbued with a desire to decide our local affairs our own selves. We have outgrown that undesirable stage where one official or an official clique makes decisions for us. We are seeking the privileges of deciding how our monies are spent and what shall be our presidential laws and policies," end of quote. That was the impetus for the return of legislative function to the shores of the Virgin Islands, paving the way for Virgin Islands people to enjoy full participation in the democratic election of their representatives and for the making of laws to govern themselves, legislation such as the Appropriations Act. As we continue to honor the struggles and strides of those who led before us, we recall the late and great former Chief Minister, Dr. the Honorable Willard Wheatley, the first Virgin Islander to officially hold the post of Minister of Finance on 1st June 1977. Dr. Wheatley's exceptional public management saw the government of the Virgin Islands independently closing a budget deficit in 1978 and ending the year with a budget surplus of $1.3 million. Through this, In one of the most significant milestones in the political and economic journey of our nation building, the Virgin Islands graduated out of granting aid and have maintained this course through the decades. Virgin Islanders liberated themselves from external financial dependence on the United Kingdom. And as I said, we graduated from granting aid and have maintained this course through the decades for all chief ministers, for all premiers. And at this time, I would like to take a moment, because it's 2 years now today since Honorable R.T. O'Neill died. And I'd like to take a moment, stand and take a moment of silence, Mr. Speaker, in honor of his memory. Thank you. May his soul rest in eternal peace. So Virgin Islanders liberated themselves from external financial dependence on the United Kingdom, clearly demonstrating the ability of our people to manage our own economic affairs, from each chief minister to each premier, hold each other accountable, and uphold their dignity. Virgin Islanders are not defined by anyone or any circumstance. We are innovative, capable, and resilient. We just have to continue to believe in ourselves and stay laser focused on our true Virgin Islands vision. The year 2021 has been another unprecedented year for the Virgin Islands. While your government wished we could focus exclusively on delivering our manifesto pledges, remedying decades-old problems with our aging infrastructure, and furthering the development of the Virgin Islands for the benefit of our people, this unfortunately could not entirely be the case. For the second consecutive year, like most, if not all other countries, we remained in battle with the worst pandemic to hit the world in over 100 years. The COVID-19 pandemic in recent months is presenting new threats in the forms of aggressive variant strains, and it continues to suppress economic activity generally in every part of the world, and more specifically in the areas of tourism and travel, upon which our economy is heavily reliant. This is subduing revenues for the public and private sectors and creating hardship for many of our people whose jobs and income streams are adversely affected, not just locally, but globally. In 2021, we saw a major spike in COVID-19 cases on our shores and grief that was unprecedented in our era in the loss of 37 additional lives. We ask God to continue to comfort families and loved ones, as we also remember our loved ones who passed due to different causes. Many of them are friends, many of them are family. Thankfully, according to recent data, the current number of positive cases now stands at 15, all of which were detected by our effective travel screening protocols. We wish those persons a full and speedy recovery. In January 2021, the United Kingdom declared it an appropriate time to institute a Commission of Inquiry on Governance in the Virgin Islands under the Commission of Inquiry Act 1880. The inquiry, which is still in progress, placed significant demands on the resources of our public service, as documents dating back more than a decade had to be sourced. Officers had to prepare affidavits and statements, and senior public officials, including ministers, permanent secretaries, head of departments, and others had to attend the COI to give evidence. The inquiry took up significant time and attention, but Mr. Speaker, your government fully and faithfully participated in the proceedings with the hope that a transparent COI will lead to a just and beneficial outcome for the people of the Virgin Islands. These challenges have come as we continue to recover from the 2017 August floods and two devastating Category 5 hurricanes Irma and Maria that created a paradigm shift for our economy. We continue our recovery efforts with our limited resources. But, as I will explain later in the budget address, your government and its agencies and departments still manage to accomplish a lot of work for the development of the Virgin Islands amid the challenges and distractions. This is an appropriate time to commend our public officers across all ministries, agencies, and departments. And I must commend all of our public officers for the hard work they have done through these last few years, during the hurricane, during COVID, and even during the CY. And I want to say that they mean a lot to me as Premier, because even during the COVID of lockdown, I personally took the time to call each and every public officer. And in terms of permanent secretaries, department heads, and senior officers, and even some other officers, everyone, to see how they were doing and to see how they were coping with COVID-19. Because larger than the public service, we are one people, and we do have a life, and we have to make sure that we show as leaders that we care. So I commend our public officers. And all those who have powered through with commitment to keep our Virgin Islands moving forward during these difficult times. Our successes are the results of collective effort and dedication. The Acting Financial Secretary, Mr. Jeremiah Frith, the officers in the Ministry of Finance, and the permanent secretaries who provided the ministry with the relevant programs of work and project details have done an exceptional job in preparing the 2022 national budget, which I present now under the theme, strategically positioning new industries with sustainability and innovation, continuing to improve the standard of living with focus on education, small business, healthcare, and technology. Mr. Speaker, what follows in this budget address is just a summary and a snapshot of some of the work that has been done and some of the targets that we are setting for the year ahead. More comprehensive details can be found in the Medium-Term Framework Plan 2022-2024 and the draft estimates of the 2022 budget, which I encourage all our citizens to read once it is published. Knowledge is power, and these documents will provide persons with the knowledge and information they need to be more actively participate in the opportunities in our economy. Mr. Speaker, context is important. Therefore, we must situate the Virgin Islands economy within the global landscape. That is the only way we can have a proper appreciation for what has happened in 2021 and what the projections will be for 2022. The advent of COVID-19 vaccines early in 2021 brought optimism for the resurgence of economies after a stagnant 2020. In 2021, the World Bank, in its Global Economic Prospects report, forecasted that the global economy was set to expand 5.6% in 2021. The strongest post-recession pace in 80 years, underpinned by steady but highly unequal vaccine access. The July 2021 global growth projection from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, for 2021 was for 6.0% over 2020. Perspective is important. This recovery was, however, projected to be unevenly concentrated in a few major economies, with most emerging market and developing economies lagging behind. While about 90% of advanced economies were expected to regain their pre-pandemic per capita income levels by 2022, only about one-third of emerging market and developing economies were expected to do so. Further, the World Bank noted in low-income countries, the effects of the pandemic are reversing earlier gains in poverty reduction and compounding food insecurity and other long-standing challenges. According to the World Bank, by 2022, the global output would remain about 2% below pre-pandemic projections, and per capita income losses incurred in 2020 would not be fully undone in about 2/3 of emerging markets and developing economies. Simply put, COVID-19 has messed up the entire world's economy. The IMF, however, in its October 2021 World Economic Outlook report, has downgraded the 2021 growth projection by 0.1%. The world would have to wait until June 2022 to hear what the World Bank has to say. Mr. Speaker, no one, and I repeat, no one has a playbook for this unpredictable and unprecedented COVID-19. I caution that persons should not get carried away by the overall figures, because while the projections are very encouraging for the wealthier economies, the situation is very much the opposite in the less developed economies. Vaccine access, vaccine hesitancy, the emergence of new variants of the virus, and disruptions to major supply chains are among the main contributors to the reduced projection. Pandemic-related disruptions to contact-intensive sectors have also caused the labor market recovery to significantly lag the output recovery in most countries. The IMF is maintaining its projection for 4.9% global growth in 2022. Mr. Speaker, by April 2020, international tourist arrivals globally had dropped by 98% points from pre-pandemic levels, according to data from the United Nations World Tourism Organization. The recovery has been very sluggish. A joint report by the UNWTO and the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development in June 2021 estimates a total loss of more than $4 trillion to the global gross domestic product, GDP, for the years 2020 and 2021 due to the COVID-19's direct impact on tourism and its ripple effect on other sectors. Some 53% of this loss will be experienced by developing countries. The Virgin Islands is clearly not unique in our experience, Mr. Speaker. According to the UNWTO and the UNCTAD report, experts do not expect a return to pre-COVID arrival levels until 2023 or later. The main barriers are travel restrictions, slow containment of the virus, low traveler confidence, and poor economic environment. Additionally, the profile of travelers has changed. Retirees who tend to spend more per trip are more likely to stay at home. Younger travelers who seem more willing to travel tend to stay longer but spend less than older travelers. This means that tourism-dependent developing countries must diversify their industries. While we will strive to be optimistic, we have to also be realistic. We must measure our expectations while global tourism recovers. We must take heed. We must adjust our thinking and our strategy. We must pivot to our strengths, improve on our weaknesses, be cognizant of threats and positioned to take advantage of opportunities when they arise, and to even create our own opportunities through innovation. We must push forward, adapt, evolve, and we must continue to diversify our economy. But notwithstanding the glum projection from the global tourism community, I am pleased to say that the Virgin Islands tourism industry did show some encouraging signs for recovery, particularly in the recent months. And for this, we must say, to God be all the glory. We have much to be thankful for and much to look forward to in 2022 as a preferred destination and jurisdiction. Despite the unavoidable restrictions on travel, such as reduced airline and ferry capacities, which apply not only to the Virgin Islands, the demand for the Virgin Islands' sun, sand, sea, and overall experience has remained high. Up to the end of October, just below 38,000 persons entered the Virgin Islands via the air and seaports, with the vast majority being visitors. With a more aggressive advocacy for mass vaccinations, the reduction of the BVI gateway fee, and easing of the quarantine periods for fully vaccinated travelers, it is expected that the gradual increase in arrival numbers will continue through the rest of 2021 to reach a projected 46,000 overnighters and day trippers. Based on the cruise schedules published by the BVI Ports Authority, it was projected that a total of around 66,000 cruise passengers would visit our shores by the end of 2021. And in case you're wondering, I want to thank all of those who work at the Cyril B. Romney Tatola Payapak, the BVI Ports Authority, and especially all of us who went to Sea Trade and was able to help this to happen with God's help. Critical to this progress was the Virgin Islands' profile as a relatively safe destination for travel during the pandemic. We were clear, and I repeat, we were clear that our strategy for the reopening of the borders and businesses was a managed one with vigilance to keep everyone safe. Notwithstanding the protocols for operations, our people generally kept in line with what was required. Our visitors adapted and adjusted to our new regular so that activity could continue to expand. Mr. Speaker, there were those at this time who said that the BVI will never be back. There were those who were saying at this time that other places were eating our lunch. But I'm here to say today that because of the measures we have put in place, we not only now have our lunch back, we have the entire store to get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. For 2021, hotel accommodation tax revenue for 2021 is estimated at just below $2 million. Taxes for motor vehicle rentals are estimated at $92,000, more than 2020 figures. Cruising permits revenue is estimated at $1.79 million, which is close to 2020 figures. Passenger tax C is estimated to rise at $442,000, up from $407,000 in 2020. And tourist arrival levy revenues are estimated at $840,000 compared to $691,000 for 2020. We are on our way back. When the pandemic struck in March 2020, your government took some decisive measures, which we said, although they were tough, were aimed at protecting the lives and livelihood of all people and the economy from catastrophic damage. The level of economic activity that can be seen taking place is proof that we have been able to achieve this so far. And our economy remains stable and resilient after all it has been through in recent years. The stimulation of the economy through various measures assisted in reducing some financial burden on our systems, while creating opportunity for business ideas, innovation, operations, and boosting activities where possible. For 2021, Income and payroll tax increased by approximately $500,000 over 2020's revenue to $48.6 million. Taxes and goods and services increased by $4.67 million over 2020 receipts to $210.3 million. Taxes on international trade increased by $3.69 million over 2020 receipts to $39.62 million. Revenues from money transfer fees estimated at $2.315 million and custom fees at $350,000. Revenues from trade licenses also increased over $1 million from $906,000 in 2020. This is indeed an encouraging sign for aspirations of growing our small business sector, even during this COVID-19 era. In other words, the entrepreneurial spirit in the Virgin Islands is highly stimulated. It's alive. History shows that the people of the Virgin Islands become stronger when faced with adversities. The projected improvement in economic activity in 2021 came as no surprise, following the stimulation of the economy from the rollout of the $40 million grant from the BVI Social Security Board in the third quarter of 2020. Do keep in mind that $10 million from that BVI Social Security Board grant was placed into an unemployment relief fund and managed by the BVI Social Security Board. Also, $7.5 million from the grant was paid to the National Health Insurance, where from the inception, previous governments had been delinquent in making payments. Along with the economic stimulus package, your government also injected resources into the economy by advancing the rollout of a number of public sector capital projects. The combination of these two measures, the grant and the capital projects, resulted in a vitamin boost for economic activity across many sectors, leading to a 2.2% upward revision of the projection for the overall growth in 2021 over 2020, compared to the 7.5% contraction that was first forecasted. Mr. Speaker, your government is fully aware of the need to continue exercising a reasonable level of caution because we continue to get back stronger and stronger daily. But we're not there as yet. But thank God we are not where we were. Hence, while this improvement is encouraging, we are cognizant that it's not enough to outweigh the effects of the pandemic on our GDP. We will get there, but it will take diligence, persistence, and vigilance. With respect to financial services, Mr. Speaker, despite the continued decline in annual trend in the market share of the industry in 2020, which was accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a rebound of the financial services industry in mid-2020, which continued in the first half of 2021, with incorporation figures that were similar to pre-pandemic levels. New incorporations grew by 68.5% and 24.1% by the end of the second quarter of 2021, compared to the same period in 2020 and 2019, respectively. Incorporation up to August numbered 23,182, growing 6.5% when compared with the same period in 2020. Similar growth patterns were recorded in revenue from fees up to August 2021, with a growth of 3.7% compared to the similar period in 2020. Revenue from financial services surpassed the initial 2021 estimate of $184.4 million and is projected to close at $196.4 million, more than $7 million in excess of the 2020 figure of $189.7 million. This is, of course, due to the sterling efforts of our innovative and driven team at the Financial Services Commission and our industry stakeholders. While the projection is that new incorporations will remain steady or be slightly improved at best, we must be on guard that the overall declining trends witnessed over the last 10 years in both incorporations and transactional activity can continue. In the construction sector, Town and Country Planning Department data shows that construction imports grew by a substantial 98.8% in the first half of 2021 to $51.98 million compared to the first half of 2020. Inflationary pressures do continue to be felt across goods, following the demand and supply stresses affecting the general movement of prices impacted by the pandemic. And may I add, this is not just in the BVI, but this is happening throughout the entire world. While the impact linger, in 2021, some sectors continue to operate with certain constraints. On the other hand, other sectors such as mining and quarrying, construction and transportation and storage are showing signs of increasing economic activity that is largely driven by ongoing public and private sector capital projects. The revised budget estimates show total government revenue in 2021 was $332.1 million, just $190,000 less than the initial projection. Total revised recurrent expenditure for fiscal year 2021 totaled $341.7 million, $11.3 million above the initial estimates. This included $17.88 million in coronavirus prevention expense, which together with other expenditure was essential in keeping our people safe while protecting the economy during the ongoing pandemic. It is anticipated that by the end of 2021, the government of the Virgin Islands will expend $4 million towards the long overdue increments for work year 2017, and the balance will be expended in 2022. Our public officers deserve their increment, and even during these challenging times, this government is making provisions to ensure that it is paid and paid in this 2022 budget. And even before the end of the year, some of the public officers will receive their increment. We are almost there. We are getting there. Total government debt stands at $140.98 million as at 15 October 2021, of which $94.3 million is foreign debt and $46.6 million is local debt. The numbers once again show prudent, responsible fiscal management. The situation could easily have turned much worse had your government not taken the tough and well-calculated decisions to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 and to stimulate the economy in the areas targeted. Mr. Speaker, as the captain of the financial ship, I can honestly say that there were many sleepless nights to keep this country running. But with God's help, we continue to run between the raindrops and don't get wet. Mr. Speaker, I propose to take a rather simpler approach now to presenting the 2022 budget so that it is easy for everyone to follow the strategic direction, achievements of the past year, and the plan of work for the period ahead. To reiterate, your government's broad vision for the Virgin Islands is to transform it into a leading regional economy through innovation, entrepreneurship, and local and foreign investment in the shortest possible time. All the signals say that this is the best long-term interests and sustainability of the Virgin Islands and for our people. Your government continues to be guided by that mission even as we put forward a 2022 national budget under the theme, strategically positioning new industries with sustainability and innovation, continuing to improve the standard of living with focus on education, small business, healthcare, and technology. which is consistent with achieving that vision. As a government, and with the help of God, and with our people, we must pivot into developing new revenue streams while maintaining and growing our existing industries so that we can broaden our economic base, create new opportunities for Virgin Islanders and residents, and enhance our resilience from sectorial shocks. At the same time, we must ensure that our people have the support systems that will keep them safe and healthy, and which will assist them in unlocking and pursuing their potential and their aspirations. Mr. Speaker, assuring the health of our people remains one of the highest priorities of your government, especially as we continue to face the threats of COVID-19, the worst pandemic to confront the world in over 100 years. There can be no wealth without health. And Mr. Speaker, I want to take this time to pause and say thank you to all our health team, officials, ministers, ministry, BVIHSA, all our health team for doing what even large countries could not do, which is to mitigate COVID-19 with great effectiveness and efficiency. We thank you. The Ministry of Health and Social Development has had a lion's share of challenges during 2021, as they did in 2020. This was due in part to the ever-changing dynamics of having to anticipate, plan, prepare, and respond to the many issues of COVID-19. And guess what? After that, being that COVID-19 was so fluid, they had to throw away every plan, every preparation, and every response, and start to plan, prepare, and respond again because of how fluid COVID-19 continues to be. And its far-reaching implications of COVID-19 is clear, and they did this for the safety and livelihood of these Virgin Islands. Despite the challenges, the Ministry of Health and Social Development, its departments, units, and divisions have exerted considerable effort in fulfilling its mandate to provide a caring and integrated system of health and social services that facilitates human development and quality of life in the Virgin Islands. I want anyone, and I challenge you, to show me a country without challenges during COVID-19. And I am sure that you'll find none. COVID-19 dominated the health agenda, as honorable members and members of the public would understand. Health officials were on the front line of managing and remaining vigilant in the national response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This included, but was not limited to, redesigning and commissioning a COVID-19 isolation ward in the Dr. D. Orlando Smith Hospital, developing and commissioning the COVID-19 permanent and mobile swabbing facility at the Dr. D. Orlando Smith Hospital, at the Terence B. Letsom International Airport, and at the main seaports in Jocelyn like Virgin Gorda, West End, and Road Town. Expanding the facilities and ensuring the certification of laboratory services for on-site COVID-19 testing, with further expansion to include rapid testing capabilities. Preparing for and setting up a field hospital for the management of the June to August 2021 COVID-19 surge. Implementation of PCR testing for all persons entering the Virgin Islands. Active testing for several positive COVID-19 upsurges. Implementation and management of the COVID-19 vaccine program, which is ongoing, and much, much more. As a matter of fact, our lab is so certified, so efficient, that despite the challenges, we have been able to assist many of our Caribbean brothers and sisters with making sure that we help run their tests and also give results so that they also could have stayed on the cutting edge of their economy and help the visitors. That is progress. COVID-19 is still a live threat, and BVI Health Service Authority and other health stakeholders will continue working to keep our people safe. People of the Virgin Islands, hear me and hear me well. COVID-19 is still here. We have done so well with mitigating it thus far with God's help that sometimes we are taking the blessings that God has given us for granted. Continue to practice all the measures for COVID-19. The wearing of your mask. It's better to wear a mask than to be referred to in the past. It's better to be 6 feet apart than to be 6 feet under. It is better to make sure that you wash your hands all the time, those little things, and we strongly recommend to be vaccinated. So we have seen where it remains a threat. For instance, one area of emphasis in 2022 will be preparation for the implementation of COVID-19 vaccine boosters and vaccination of school-aged children with parental consent, of course, using the Pfizer vaccine. The work plan for 2022 includes completion of 3 construction projects in the Major Peebles Wing, the Rotom Clinic first floor, the Dual Purpose Unit Specialist Clinic and Isolation Unit second floor, and the expanded laboratory unit annex, laboratory ISO 15189 certification. Through all the challenges, BVIHSA maintained its prestigious De Nosce Veritas accreditation and is preparing for its 3rd on-site survey visit from the accreditation body. I will say it again, our hospital, through all of this, became accredited and is on the verge of maintaining being accredited. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Health and Social Development have a broad range of functions, one of which is social programs. In 2021, through the Housing Recovery Program, hurricane repairs to 34 homes were completed. This means that 34 persons in the Virgin Islands who were affected from Irma and Maria were able to get the keys to the new home as a result of this program. For this, to God be all the glory. 3 social homes were built. A 4th scheduled for completion next month. 2 rebuild grants were issued. Another 2 should be completed by year's end. In 2022, the ministry intention is to construct 13 additional social homes, repair an additional 25 homes that were damaged by Irma and Maria, and complete the process for the issue of 14 rebuild grants. Our people continue to get help, but we still have much more to do. Extensive work with respect to gender violence was done by the Office of Gender Affairs, inclusive of completion of the Domestic Violence Strategy and Action Plan. 40 participants were trained in domestic violence protocol. Further training will be done in 2022. A national gender policy will also be among the priorities. In due course, the Minister for Health and Social Development, Honorable Carvin Malone, will elaborate on these and other works under the ministry, such as the programs for our seniors. Mr. Speaker, as I now turn to education, I must first highlight that most of our school buildings are decades old and were not adequately maintained over the years. To make matters worse, they were battered by hurricanes Irma and Maria, battered, bruised, and in some cases, schools were left unfit for occupancy. I wish to recognize and commend the dedication of our teachers who have performed yeoman service in the less than satisfactory conditions. I also must thank the parents and the students for their patience. But the fact is that our teachers and our students deserve a safe and conducive environment. On this, we are all in full agreement. Your government, in this 2022 budget, will ensure that our schools get top priority. Your government has been working to restore the school infrastructure. We admit that there's still much to be done. We understand the frustrations, and we aim to push harder with the work. In 2021, your government upgraded school buildings at the Ivan Dawson Primary School, Leonora Delville Primary School, Robinson O'Neill Memorial Primary School, the Jocelyn Dyke Primary School, and the Brigada Flax Educational Center Secondary Division. These works included resilient measures such as solar panels. Metal windows were installed in several schools, and furniture was purchased for the Elmore Stout High School, the Brigada Flax Educational Center Secondary Division, and the Enos Adams Primary School. For 2022, the work continues. In the 2022 budget, thus far, $8.5 million is allocated for upgrading some of our school infrastructure through the Recovery and Development Agency, RDA. In the upcoming year, redevelopment of the Elmore Stout High School campus will move forward. I said the Elmore Stout High School Development Program will move forward. These includes constructing classrooms and supporting facilities to provide a modern campus for learning and development for our students. Just over $7 million is already allocated for this initiative in the 2022 budget. All students and teachers will finally be moving from the CTL building to the Elmore Stout High School campus where they belong and in proper facilities in time for the 2022-2023 school year. Demolition work on the Isabella Morris Primary School began on 1st October 2021. We have allocated in the 2022 budget $200,000 to fund design, development, and engineering works to inform the construction and development of a new modern facility with smart and safe standards to ensure a resilient and functional school for the children and teachers of Carrot Bay and neighboring communities. When completed, it will be known as the Isabella Morris Junior High School. Our intent, led by the Minister of Education, is to ensure a few junior schools are built throughout the territory, and this will be the first one. On Jocelyn Dyke, our teachers and students have borne a lot, and they have been very, very, very patient over the years, especially since Hurricane Irma and Maria. $400,000 is a lot allocated towards commencement of the construction of a modern school building that is fitting of what they deserve. But that's not enough. But we have already had pledges coming in from persons to help supplement the rest of the money. And the Jocelyn Dykes Primary School in 2022 construction will begin so that our students in Jocelyn Dykes are in a more conducive learning environment. I know some of you that hear these say wishful thinking, but all I can tell you is that a lie have speed, but truth have endurance. Look for when the truth comes. We continue to restore functionality to the Brigada Flax Educational Center on Virgin Gorda. $50,000 is allocated to complete ongoing works at this facility, and even more funds if needed through the rehabilitation of schools both. Additionally, $800,000 is allocated for the redevelopment of the Eslin Henley Riches Special Needs Learning Center to provide a restored learning environment with smart and safe standards for students with special needs. All special needs students deserve better. And in 2022, in this budget, better they will get. A further $1 million is allocated through local funding for rehabilitation and remedial works on various schools throughout the Virgin Islands. But we have agreed already as a government that before the budget process is over, to make sure that we go and maintain, address all the concerns of each school, that will be tapped up to $2 million. Mold and remediation on all public schools will continue through 2022. Mr. Speaker, additionally, we are establishing virtual classrooms to accommodate COVID-19 impacted students with an alternative platform by March 2022. Your government proposes to increase the funds available for school supplies by over $255,000 from last year's allocation. In 2021, your government provided psychosocial support via webinars to our youth on dealing with the stress of COVID-19 and youth talks on the effects of crime on youth. While these programs were hampered by COVID-19, we aim to continue these interventions in the new year. Establishment of the Teacher Education Institute by September 2022 remains another area of focus. The Institute will have responsibility for teacher training at various levels to include training of new teachers, offer professional development for teachers and administrators at the ministry and school levels, and a teacher licensing program. Professional development sessions on the creation of and use of online assessments, differentiated instruction, online lesson planning, and versatility in the use of the various online platforms were conducted during 2021. These efforts will continue in 2022 to further strengthen the teaching and learning process and student outcomes. Additionally, the OECS Education Sector Strategy and the Virgin Islands Education Sector Strategy continues to be implemented and utilized for policy planning and legislative amendments. The Education Advisory Council, Special Education Council, Technical Advisory Council, and Veteran Educators Committee are in the process of being established, and we hope to have these finalized very shortly. The reason being, we need all hands on deck to ensure that we turn around our education system and make it one of the best in the world. The Ministry of Education expanded the reading literacy program to grade 4 in September 2020 and to grade 5 in September 2021. By September 2022, grades 6 and 7 will be added to the program. Also by September 2022, the review and adjustment of the early childhood program for grades K and 1 should be completed to include more scheduled language and math literacy and the integration of science and social studies concepts into the language and math lessons. In due course, the Deputy Premier and Minister for Education, Dr. the Honorable Natalia Whitley, will elaborate on these and other works regarding education. Mr. Speaker, education will get the attention it long deserves. And Mr. Speaker, this will not be another talk shop. You can depend on seeing these new buildings at Elmo Stout High School. You can depend on seeing the new school at Jos Van Dykes. You can depend on seeing the work start with the design and eventually construction of the Isabella Morris Junior Primary School. You could depend on seeing more maintenance, meaningful maintenance of our schools. It will take time, but faith be strong, it won't be long. Mr. Speaker, your government continues to pursue programs to engage our youth to help them to develop positively and to become empowered. Through the B Youth Center, which was opened in April 2021, we endeavored to develop programming including social and life skills, job preparation, digital literacy, introduction to technical and vocational skills, and entrepreneurship. Activities such as youth talks and game night, for example, were successfully implemented. Some of our other plans had to be deferred due to COVID-19. However, efforts are underway to redesign these programs so that they can be offered virtually as far as possible. The Ministry of Education and the Premier's Office are working together to develop a digital literacy program in secondary schools by March 2022. Your government will continue to provide scholarship opportunities through financial assistance to individuals to enable the pursuit of tertiary level education both locally and abroad. And I must say that I do commend the Minister of Education for working hard to revitalize the scholarship abroad program. We have seen, just in this year alone, between scholarships and grants, we have had more than 50 persons, 50 Virgin Islanders who would not normally have had the opportunity to go to school because their parents or family could not afford it, being awarded scholarships and grants to further their education. This is progress. And I dare to say that we must never look and see the absence of noise for the lack of activity. For the first time, we have introduced the Asia Abroad Scholarship Program, which is a three-way partnership between the government of the Virgin Islands, elite universities in Asia, and the private sector to provide Virgin Islanders the opportunities to study in Asia. We believe that once our people continue to be supported in educational development, it will help to advance our workforce and economy and be able to reduce or eliminate poverty. The surest way to elevate yourself is by making sure that you educate yourself. And this government is making sure those opportunities are available. The Department of Youth Affairs and Sports will continue to promote healthy lifestyles through community activities. Between March and June 2021, they successfully implemented the industrial bowling and softball leagues. Other sport programs had to be deferred due to COVID-19, but will be resumed in 2022. The Department of Youth Affairs and Sports is working on public-private partnership to create entrepreneurship programs for young people by June 2022, and is reflected in their budget. The marine training, solar training, and financial services training will continue in 2022 by your government at the H.L. Stowe Community College, as many of our people have benefited from these programs. In due course, the Deputy Premier Minister responsible for youth development, Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley, will elaborate on these and other initiatives in this area. Mr. Speaker, in order to support and stimulate the expansion of our private sector, your government will be equipping the Virgin Islands Trade Commission in 2022 to tackle its mandate of fostering trade and developing the business environment. The latter function includes looking at areas of opportunities for citizens, encouraging investments, creating new industries while bolstering existing ones, and leveraging existing Virgin Islands assets in cooperation with other agencies with respect to the green, blue, and digital economy. Mr. Speaker, this will also include training our people and getting them ready to be entrepreneurs. Mr. Speaker, through new legislation, such as the Virgin Islands Investment Act 2021 and the Business Act 2021, new regulations and new regime, every investor, whether belonger or non-belonger, will know what to expect when investing in the Virgin Islands. The Virgin Islands Trade Commission will also provide the institutional structure for implementation of the Consumer Protection Act, which is long overdue and has been passed by this Honorable House and will be implemented in 2022, the Consumer Protection Act. Mr. Speaker, the gaming and betting industry is viewed as a promising area for generating revenues and creating economic opportunities for our people. The Gaming Commission Board should be in place no later than 1st January 2022, and staff who will be trained in anti-money laundering should be on board by the second quarter of 2022 so that this new industry can open up and move forward soon thereafter. Legal and regulated marijuana industries have already spoken have already spoken into the way of this House of Assembly and have been passed in terms of the Act. But the legal and regulated marijuana industries have already been proven to have provided economic benefits also and stimulation to several jurisdictions. We were ahead of the game when we passed that legislation in this honorable House. But we may have been delayed, but with God's help, we will not be denied. The global medical marijuana industry is projected to grow from its current value of $9.2 billion to $57 billion by 2027. The Virgin Islands people can benefit immensely if they can participate in this industry. Your government is working with the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office to address the various issues that are holding back assent to the legislation for the Virgin Islands to establish our medical marijuana industry. Mr. Speaker, turning now to food production. COVID-19 restrictions and resource constraints hampered the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries from conducting their extension services and other outreach programs to farmers and commercial fishermen during the past year. We look forward to an improved situation in the future. However, through your government's COVID-19 economic stimulus program for farmers and fishermen, utilizing $5.1 million from grant funding provided by the BVI Social Security Board, 201 farmers and 207 fisher folk to date were able to enhance their ability to produce food to service local demand and enhance the Virgin Islands security in the longer term. The results of this initiative can be seen in our supermarkets and at the regular farmers' markets. Additionally, the availability of local caught fish is more prevalent now than it has been for a very long time. $480,000 is allocated for the Eastern Fat Hogs Bay Harbor development to increase our capacity for maritime visitors and other activities. Historically, our people were exporters of locally grown produce and livestock and locally caught fish. As we continue to increase food production capacity, our people will be able to resume their role and enjoy the economic benefits from it. As the Virgin Islands returns to exporting, there will be opportunities to generate new revenue streams, inclusive of an export tax from the sale of the various local products and through innovation. We will once again export to the world. Mr. Speaker, tourism is an interesting part of our economy and is also an intrinsic part of our economy. Despite several challenges and even setbacks, your government continues to do our part, working with different stakeholders through the BVI Tourist Board, BVI Ports Authority, BVI Airport Authority, and many other public and private institutions to ensure that our destination is both competitive and sustainable and to attract visitors to our shores. Where tourism is one of the Virgin Islands' two major economic drivers, any progress we can realize at this time, where tourism industries around the world are being impacted by the continuation of the pandemic, will be of benefit to our economy. Our taxi operators, restaurants, tour operators, domestic ferries, land and sea-based entrepreneurs, museums, national parks, sailing companies, and all the entrepreneurs and businesses that service our visitors. On 13 October 2021, the cruise industry began returning to our shores following a temporary halt in July 2021, when we experienced an increase in COVID-19 cases. With all of our people working together, the number of COVID-19 cases has dropped once again, and we hope to keep it so as far as humanly possible. Members would recall that upon our return from sea trade, as I said earlier, in September 2021, your government reported that our cruise partners confirmed a total of 176 extra calls to the Virgin Islands beginning 13 October 2021 up until 2024. But don't take my word for it. Just look at the cruise ship dock every morning that you pass, and you'll see that they've already started. As a result of our efforts, we expect to see major cruise lines such as Disney, Carnival, and Royal Caribbean making calls in the Virgin Islands. This is good news for vendors. This is good news for taxi operators. This is good news for entrepreneurs. This is good news for sister islands also. This is good news for our economy. From a broader view, the Virgin Islands can expect a total of 299 calls, with 193 at the cruise pier for the 2021-2022 season, with a projected increase the following season. Discussions continue with the cruise lines to attract additional small and medium cruise ships on Anegada, Virgin Gorda, and Jocelyn Dyke to spur additional economic activity. We see more travelers are coming to our shores via the yachting industry. We'll continue to throw the BVI. We continue to throw everything that we have in the BVI to ensure that this continues to blossom. And we'll continue to do so through the BVI Tourist Board to engage the growth of the yachting industry and promote sports and cultural initiatives to this sector for social and economic benefits. A survey conducted by the BVI Tourist Board on the accommodation sector suggests the number of visitors over the 6-month period will rival what we saw for the 11 months since we reopened in December 2020 to October 2021. Slowly but surely, we are getting there. Many guests are using a shorter booking window for their vacations due to quickly changing travel landscape. This can result in bookings filling in quickly in the upcoming months. As properties and fleets return to their full room inventories, and with the reopening of properties such as Sabre Rock and Bitter End Yacht Club, among others, we are optimistic for improved arrival levels for the upcoming season. Due to increased bookings, the international ferry passenger schedule at Rotong Jetty has already been adjusted. We welcome the ongoing partnership with the United States government to see trips increase to 100 persons per trip, inclusive of passengers and crew. There's also an additional daily international round-trip service, thus increasing it to 3 daily round-trip ferry services until 31st January 2022 in the first instance. This is indeed good news as the BVI Ports Authority, ferry operators, and stakeholders continue to prepare for the reopening of the Western Ferry Terminal for international ferry passenger operations starting December 2021 and all the other ports. We are working diligently to enhance our ports of entry throughout the Virgin Islands. In a few weeks, we will see the reopening of the Taddy Bay Airport in Virgin Gorda. And yes, you will be able to fly in a turkey at the Taddy Bay Virgin Gorda Airport just in time for Thanksgiving. The BVI Airports Authority has completed resurfacing of the runway with terrace, refurbished the pump on the fire appliance, and met with stakeholders including Air Safety Support International, ASI. Also, we are working on repairs on the rescue boat, an emergency drill, and finalizing the updated briefing packs for flight crews. We will also be breaking ground for the new Welcome Center in Virgin Gorda Airport. Technical works are ongoing geared towards the expansion of the Virgin Gorda Airport runway. The same is being done for the Terence B. Lettsome International Airport runway. The funding for these are already appropriated, some in this year's budget and some in next year's budget, so that we can move hastily to ensure that our runways are extended. Mr. Speaker, this is good news for Virgin Gorda, because Virgin Gorda is the capital of tourism in the Virgin Islands. In a few days, you will hear the date announced for the reopening of the Virgin Gorda Airport. We continue to build an authentic Virgin Islands brand as we create a value for money destination for a satisfying tourist experience that will attract more visitors to our shores. We continue the promotion of cleanliness and the enhancement of tourist attraction areas. $200,000 is allocated for tourism infrastructure development to further improve our tourism product. An additional $163,000 is provided for construction of bathroom facilities at Bruce Bay. Mr. Speaker, we are now celebrating the second annual Culture and Tourism Month in November under the theme, Our Heritage, Our People, Our Cultural Arts. When culture meets tourism, we capture all hats. We continue to place emphasis on nature, adventure, heritage, ecotourism, and cultural and traditional values. Several partners from the public and private institutions are working together, emphasizing nature tourism, which incorporates our beautiful beaches, diving and snorkeling, sites, hiking trails, and the upcoming famous Anegada Lobster Fest on 27 and 28 November 2021. And I hope to see everyone on Anegada during that time. Already, many tourism businesses are actively seeking employees to fill positions. Your government is organizing a job fair to revitalize the 1,000 Jobs in 1,000 Days initiative. And the job fair will be under the 1,000 Jobs in 1,000 Days initiative through the Department of Labor to connect employees and employers, also to connect it with trade and tourism and all our other entities to make sure that your government is working to get all of our tourism sectors back to full functionality while helping as many of our people in the Virgin Islands once again to be gainfully employed. We recognize that we have to bring in some of the labor, but we also recognize that we have to make sure that we push for our people of the Virgin Islands to get their piece of the economic pie. The National Tourism Strategy, when completed in 2022, will be the blueprint for all aspects of shaping and positioning of the Virgin Islands tourism industry in the current global landscape. This strategy will also provide us with even more modern approaches on how to improve, enhance, and sustain our tourism industry. Mr. Speaker, when your government took office in 2019, we prioritized the re-establishment of ferry service at West End, which we didn't. We are now taking it a step further in modernizing that facility once and for all. $2 million has been allocated in the 2022 budget for construction of the permanent and modern West End ferry terminal, which will accommodate over 200,000 passengers annually. Very soon, the Jasper Van Dyke Ferry Terminal will be ready to service both domestic and international passengers. The planning and design for the new ferry terminal at the Valley Virgin Gorda to allow for the separation of the cargo and ferry operations and the rehabilitation of the North Sound Ferry Terminal is envisaged by the end of January 2022. The BVI Ports Authority aims at ensuring our ports meet international codes and standards. The International Ship and Port Facility Security Code, ISPS, prescribed fencing is being installed at all ports, proper lighting of facilities, and other electronic measures to improve all ports surveillance. Also, there is continued maintenance and upgrades of navigational aids to provide for the safe operation of vessels within our designated harbors. COVID-19 has delayed the rebuilding and improvement of the information technology infrastructure, which was damaged during the 2017 hurricanes. Most of the planned improvement of service offerings, such as port management, software to get incoming cargo processed efficiently, online billing and payments, online notification of availability of cargo for collection, improvement on surveillance, and establishing resiliency of port data and operations should be completed in the fourth quarter of 2022. And Mr. Speaker, may I inform all that the fees that the government rolled back until January will not be implemented in 2022 by the ports. The employees remain the ports authority's most valuable resource, especially as we strive to improve the range and quality of service. The continued professional development of the employees is a priority in 2022. While COVID-19 has created some financial and operational challenges, the authority is determined to continue to facilitate domestic and international cargo and passenger services. Mr. Speaker, earlier, I referenced the work of the BVI Airports Authority as it relates to our tourism efforts, but this is not the authority's only focus. In support of the development of new industries with sustainable innovation, the BVI Airports Authority continues working towards the Virgin Islands' future in air service development, as well as to further enhance the current processes and procedures employed by the authority. This includes works on all three aerodromes, the Auguste George International Airport on Anegada, the Teddy Bay International Airport on Virgin Gorda, and Terence B. Letsom International Airport, Tortola. In recent months, the Airports Authority has taken the necessary steps to ensure that the runway in Anegada is not only lit, but is in line with the required regulations, standards, and recommended practices for the industry. This will ensure the possibility of safe medical evacuations around the clock and allow for commercial operations in the international airport on Anegada after dark, allowing guests from the mainland to be able to fly to Anegada during the short winter days of the peak tourist season. To further facilitate this initiative, the Airports Authority, in conjunction with Health, are evaluating the possibility of installing a screening facility at the airport so that international flights can be screened on island instead of having to stop at Beef Island to do the necessary COVID-19 tests before being allowed to integrate into the community. Anegada deserves their share of the economic pie, and Anegada will get their share. We are making it more convenient for our international guests coming to Anegada, both by land and sea, thereby generating business for the people of Anegada. As mentioned, the Airports Authority is close to reopening the Teddy Bay International Airport in Virgin Gorda, complete with the COVID-19 testing facility in time for Thanksgiving. Residents and tourism and business interests on the sister island can also look forward to more flights as a result of close communication with Airport Safety Support International ASI for the lifting of the single-engine aircraft restriction that has been in place at the airport for over 20 years. The lifting of this restriction will, for example, allow the single-engine aircraft flown by companies such as Tradewind Aviation to operate into the airport. What does this mean? More people coming directly to Virgin Gorda by air and by sea, more economic activity, more persons being employed, more entrepreneurs, and Virgin Gorda being back to where it was and always will be, the capital of tourism in the Virgin Islands. Additionally, as mentioned, the BVI Airports Authority has teamed up with the Recovery and Development Agency to have the runway and Virgin Gorda paved to help further improve safety margins and usability of the aerodrome, as well as looking into the extension of the runway. Background works on the extension of the Terence B. Letsom International Airport are underway with the RDA. In preparation for additional traffic, the BVI Airports Authority is continuing works on improving the passenger experience through the Terence B. Letsom International Airport with the implementation of a common use system to accommodate more airlines and X-ray machines that will improve screening quality and speed up processing times. Service reliability has also been improved with the addition of 2 new fire appliances and the imminent installation of an upgraded tower console. We are serious about making the BVI attractive as a hub for air travel in the region, and these efforts will move us in that direction. Also in the area of aviation, steps have been taken for the re-establishment of the Civil Aviation Department in the Virgin Islands. One benefit of this is that individuals will be able to register their aircraft in the jurisdiction, which means that there will be new revenues. A local expert in aeronautical science has been appointed as Director of Civil Aviation, and efforts are underway to put all the resources in place for the CAD to become functional. This will include developing a comprehensive plan which must all have regulatory requirements of the International Civil Aviation Organization and the Overseas Territories in Aviation Regulations, as well as those of ASI. Mr. Speaker, I will now speak about infrastructure. Your government continues to improve our territory's infrastructure for the benefit of our people and the development of our economy. A total of $12.4 million has been allocated for a number of infrastructure development projects, including but not limited to the Eastern Langlook Sewage Project, the King Garden Bay Sewage Project, the Rotong Sewage Project, continuation of works on the R.T. O'Neill Administration Complex, the Rotong Improvement Project, reservoir repairs and improvement of the water network in such areas as Packwood Pond, Long Trench, Shalwell, George's North Side, King Garden Bay, Sabbath Hill, and certain parts of Eastern and Virgin Gorda. The allocation also includes improvement of our road networks, civil works across the 9 districts, construction of the long overdue Frenchman's Key Bridge, and the revetment and development works on the north coast in Caribbean and King Garden Bay area roads and coastline to reduce the impact of storm surges. $300,000 is allocated for improvement works on the community centers at the King Garden Bay and Eastern Langlook. In 2021, your government conducted extensive road repairs in a number of areas to improve integrity and performance of the infrastructure and road safety. Designs and drawings for a number of projects have been completed for implementation in 2022. In Windy Hill, Tortola, and on Eastbound Road and Jumper Road on Jocelyn Dyke, for instance, curb walls will be installed. Remedial works will also be done on the Great Harbor Road on Jocelyn Dyke and at the Valley on Virgin Gorda. In recent years, our sportsmen and women have been reminding us of our potential in sports. $400,000 is allocated to continue the rehabilitation of the multi-sports complex so that our athletes can have a quality facility for talent development. You can count on seeing the multi-sports complex fully air-conditioned and repaired in 2022. Other initiatives include the further development of local infrastructure for Her Majesty Customs, for which $500,000 has been allocated, and continued work on the National Emergency Management Operations Center, for which $2.1 million has been provided in the budget. Mr. Speaker, I now talk about our culture and heritage on Virgin Islands, heritage and culture, what give us our unique identity. It is who we are as a people, and it reflects the long journey of our ancestors, shaped by their struggles and their triumphs, and the legacy that we all carry. It is our sacred duty to ensure that the true Virgin Islands story is preserved and passed on to successive generations, so that they too will have a compass to guide them. It is also important that not just our youth, but everyone understands this journey, on which one of the major milestones yet to be achieved is self-determination. Additionally, honorable members would recall that when our international tourism partners visited the Virgin Islands in 2019, They emphasize the demand for experiences with local cultural content. With all of these things in mind, your government saw it necessary to intensify focus on the Virgin Islands' history, heritage, and culture. This year, we observed Virgin Islands Day and also established Heroes and Parents Day as an annual public holiday. The aim is to help us reconnect and restore the bonds with our true Virgin Islands history. This year, as we continue to observe Emancipation Service virtually, we witness a video presentation titled "The Impact of the Transatlantic Slave Trade on Our Health." As we approach the Great Match and Restoration Day later this month, through the coordination of the Department of Culture with all the development that they're going to do with it, a number of documentaries will also be aired, such as Story of a Colony, Virgin Islands, and Living Legislators in the Virgin Islands. Other documentary programs are also in production for airing in the near future and throughout 2022, as funding has been allocated to allow this. In 2021, we saw the selection of the first poet laureate of the Virgin Islands, Dr. Richard Georges, which opened the way for a number of culturally significant activities to take place and to complement other initiatives around Virgin Islands: art, music, literary works, and more. Special effort was made to ensure that our school children were involved in many of these activities so that they can know their proud and resilient history. Significant efforts are underway to upgrade our heritage sites such as the Lower Estate Sugar Works Museum to make them attractive to local and foreign visitors, as well as informative. A National Heritage Sites program will be implemented by December 2022, as well as a program to bring cultural heritage resources into our schools. Mr. Speaker, any country that aims to be competitive must embrace the modern technology that is available and which supports economic growth and protection of the environment. This is why among your government's areas of focus are the strengthening of our energy supply to enhance reliability while reducing our carbon footprint, as well as providing the telecommunications capabilities to support a high digitized economy. The BVI Electricity Corporation continues to make great strides with the Virgin Islands' clean energy transition towards diversifying energy production, utilizing renewable energy. On November 5th, 2021, the BVIEC signed the contract for the Anegada Hybrid Renewable Energy and Battery Energy Storage System project with Power 52 Clean Energy Access, LLC. This project, when completed during the first quarter of 2023, is projected to reduce the current volume of fossil fuel used to produce electricity on that sister island by 95%. This will surpass the government's target of reducing fossil fuel-based generation by 80%. The system will comprise of approximately 1 megawatt of solar PV panels and 4,078 kilowatt hour of battery energy storage. I am pleased with the 39 students who attended the H.L. Stout Community College Certified Solar Technician Training Program. Approximately 22 of them have achieved their North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners and National Center for Construction Education and Research certifications, and will use the Anegada Hybrid Renewable Energy and Battery Energy Storage System project to gain the necessary practical experience that will put them in a position to catapult the renewable energy industry in the Virgin Islands. The BVI will lead in this area. BVIEC continues to progress the feasibility assessment with respect to exploring the renewable energy potential for utility-scale solar PV generation and penetration on the national transmission grid infrastructure in Paraquita Bay, Tortola, and Virgin Gorda. On 8 November 2021, BVIC commenced its request for qualifications process for qualified installers to express their interest in providing engineering, procurement, and construction services for a combined solar and battery energy microgrid in Paraquita Bay. This process also includes the construction of a substantial investment that will be made and to allow for a substation to place underground the sole portion of the Virgin Islands transmission infrastructure, which is above ground. This means adding other infrastructural improvements which will not only support transmission grid infrastructure resilience, but also add much needed energy resilience to essential services in Paraquita Bay area, including water production, sewage treatment, among others. HL Stowe Community College will also benefit from this initiative. Following the enactment of both the BVI Electricity Corporation Amendment Act 2015 and the BVI Electricity Corporation Renewable Energy Regulations 2018, which combined provide the territory with the legal framework to advance the subject of renewable energy, BVIEC has processed 7 consumer generator small-scale renewable energy interconnection applications to date for a combined system size of approximately 300 kilowatts, 4 of which have been grid-tied, namely the Brigada Flax Educational Center, Youth Empowerment Project, Leonora Delville Primary School, and Guavaberry Spring Bay Vacations Home. We have an additional 6 customer applications currently being assessed with a combined system size of approximately 60 kilowatts. Your government has established a basket of incentives to encourage residents to transition to clean renewable energy. This includes zero tax on clean energy equipment for a further 1 year in the first instance. Some duties, albeit low, will begin to apply thereafter. Incentives are also in place for persons to switch to electric and hybrid vehicles. In 2017, the 2017 hurricanes completely destroyed BVIEC's headquarters in Virgin Gorda. BVIEC plans to commence construction of its new Virgin Gorda headquarters in 2022. The headquarters is expected to utilize sustainable and greener strategies, following the leadership in energy and environmental design framework for healthy, highly efficient, and cost-saving green buildings. Once completed, it will be the first LEED certified building in the Virgin Islands. To further strengthen our telecommunication infrastructure to provide accessible, reliable, and affordable services to our people, the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, known as TRC, is working on a number of key initiatives, including revision of the quality of service reporting regime to facilitate comparison of all operators and evaluate overall performance when contrasted with international trends. All operator licenses are due to expire in 2022, and the Commission has already started the process, working with the relevant operators according to the established timetables. The TRC is also working to complete the rebuild of the BVI Internet Exchange in accordance with the Telecommunications Code Part 2, Internet Traffic Exchange Requirements, 2010, and ensure that all local operators are fulfilling their obligations to exchange local internet traffic through the BVIX without sending such traffic abroad. The TRC will also commence activities for the updating of the territory's telecommunications policy to ensure it is meeting the needs of the local public and in line with international trends. We all know that everyone continues to cry for better internet service, and TRC is ensuring that they get this done sooner rather than later. Mr. Speaker, in 2007, when universal service was first contemplated in the Virgin Islands, the expectation was that the service would consist of a high-quality public telephone service, including a free telephone directory for subscribers of such service, and operator-assisted information services. This would include free access to emergency telecommunication services for all subscribers or users of public telecommunications. Fast forward to 2021. Universal service is now contemplated to consist of high-quality broadband service which affords all users anywhere in the Virgin Islands access to ICT services using the latest technology at affordable prices. It is further contemplated that following consultation with the licensed telecommunication operators and consumers in the new licensing period in 2024, a universal service fund which supports the implementation of universal service will be set up. The universal service will be rolled out in a phased manner until consistent quality of service is available throughout the Virgin Islands. Simply put, everyone in the Virgin Islands will have good access to internet. Mr. Speaker, as we continue to develop the economy and as we push forward with a digital economy and e-government, we have seen this House of Assembly pass many legislation to usher in the digital economy in this country. But a reliable and secure telecommunications is essential with enhancing the convenience and efficiency of doing business with government offices and agencies. A number of initiatives are in train to improve and broaden the use of digital technology in government operations and government services. And may I state very clearly that in the next few months, you will be able to stay on your bed in Jocelyn Dykes, in Antigua, in Virgin Gorda, or even Tortola, and use your smartphone and do business with government through the digital economy that this government has ushered in and the funds in the budget to develop it this year. So government operations and services that are being worked on these include, but are not limited to, upgrade of government WAN and LAN infrastructure to improve network connectivity following damage from the 2017 hurricanes, work on building additional capacity to support business continuity of government operations in the event of any major threats is planned for 2022. Implementation of document management system in various statutory commissions and will continue in the new year. The Inland Revenue Department is upgrading its IT system to improve the efficiency in collections. Work has already started. Some modules will be rolled out in the 2022 and the full system should be implemented before the end of 2023. Improving the system for online application for work permits. Commencement of work for digital transformation of the House of Assembly operations. Implementing a safe and secure platform for online payments for e-services. Redesign of the central government website to make it more service-oriented. Opening access to the public for the revamped Attorney General's Chamber's website. The See-Click Fix platform in collaboration with the Deputy Governor's Office, which is a citizen reporting app and web portal, together with the online appointment system. This forms part of the Customer Service Care Center under the Public Service Transformation Plan, which is an ongoing initiative. And GIS channel to provide more timely information in government's decisions, policies, and program implementation. As we look at improving efficiency and effectiveness in the public services, the Water and Sewage Department has been carrying significant deficits over the years. Water and Sewage Department collects on an average $5 million per annum in revenues from the sales of potable water, but it pays to the water suppliers approximately $27 million per annum, which results in a gross variance of some $22 million each year. We must stop that hemorrhaging. A major contributor to this inefficiency is the very old infrastructure, which results in 60% of water being lost after production. Legislation is already before the House to transform the department into a statutory body, which will give it more autonomy to tackle some of these problems in ways that it cannot under the present arrangement. Additionally, to curb the margin of loss, the installation of digital meters to replace analog meters is continuing throughout the Virgin Islands. Mr. Speaker, your government is committed to national development. We have been working hard with the assistance of the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, on the formulation of the National Sustainable Development Plan, which will be our sustainable development framework for the next 15 years. The first draft of the plan is almost completed and will be circulated for comments before it is presented to the House Assembly for approval. This plan, which is based on the Sustainable Development Goals, considered as fundamental human rights of the people, is not being developed in a vacuum and has already involved widespread public consultation. And on the topic of public participation, Mr. Speaker, funding has been allocated for the establishment of the 9-member commission to review the Virgin Islands Constitution Order 2007. All the necessary resources are allocated for. Constitutional review is now long overdue. The world has changed in more ways than we can count. As we confront many of these challenges in the day-to-day affairs, it is clear that we have outgrown our current constitutional arrangement, and a new, more appropriate one must be sought. Your government looks forward to lively, informed, and productive discussions when the Constitutional Review Commission commences its work in this year and into the new year. Mr. Speaker, funds has also been allocated in anticipation of the House of Assembly passing the Human Rights Commission Act, Freedom of Information Act, and the Register of Interest Act. This is in keeping with the government's commitment to further strengthen our institutions, especially in the area of accountability, transparency, and good governance. In the 2022 budget, funds are allocated to commence the Public Service Transformation Initiative. This is a partnership between the Premier's office and the Governor and Deputy Governor's office. For far too long, there have been cries to modernize the public service. In this budget, the government shows its commitment to do so. Funds continue to be allocated to support the various arms of the justice system and our law enforcement agencies. Mr. Speaker, looking at the budget numbers, the technical experts at the Ministry of Finance are projecting estimate revenues for your government in the sum of $356.7 million, with $323.2 million coming from taxes and $33.5 million from other revenue sources. Recurrent expenditure is estimated at $337 million, with employee compensation accounting for some $130.8 million. $87.3 million allocated for goods and services, $81.7 million set aside for grants to parastatals, statutory bodies, and other organizations and international bodies based on existing commitments, $12.9 million for property and other expenses, $345,000 for subsidies, $4.5 million for interest payments, and $19.4 million allocated for social benefits. A recurrent surplus of approximately $13.8 million has been projected. Capital expenditure of $39.4 million is being targeted. This will be funded by $8.8 million in loan funds from the Caribbean Development Bank Rehabilitation and Reconstruction Loan, and $9.1 million from the Consolidated Fund, $17.1 million from the Development Fund, as well as $4.4 million from insurance proceeds. $19.5 million has been allocated for debt servicing, principal, and interest. The additional budgetary support to cover the additional $40.5 million largely required for the capital projects will be funded through $8.8 million from the Consolidated Fund, $600,000 from the Miscellaneous Purpose Fund, $800,000 from the Environmental Protection and Improvement Fund, $21.5 million from the Development Fund, and loan in disbursements of approximately $8.8 million. This will result in another balanced budget. The Ministry of Natural Resources, Labor, and Immigration will receive the largest share of the recurrent allocations in $51.2 million or 14.3%. This is due to the reassignment of the national health insurance to the ministry as part of our streamlining of systems. The reassignment was also done in 2020 to allow the Ministry of Health and Social Development to increase its focus on healthcare and public health during the COVID-19 era. The allocation to the Ministry of Health and Social Development is $34.2 million, or 9.57% of the recurrent budget. The Ministry of Natural Resources, Labor and Immigration, and the Ministry of Health and Social Development have been allocated 4.6% and 5.02% of the development budget, respectively, with a heightened emphasis on human capital development. 13.68% of the recurrent budget has been allocated to the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth Affairs, Fisheries, and Agriculture, and 26.36% of the development allocations. The Ministry of Transportation, Works, and Utilities has been allocated 12.34% of the recurrent budget. As I've indicated, major construction projects are an area of focus for us to stimulate economic activity and create jobs for our people during the period of COVID-19. For this reason, 32.73% of the development budget has been allocated to the Ministry of Transportation, Works, and Utilities. The allocation to the Ministry of Finance and the Premier's Office are 6.93% and 12.47% respectively, and the recurrent budget and 12.6% and 9.36% respectively from the development allocations. Some 12.08% of the recurrent budget has been allocated to the Governor's Group, with several major projects on the cards, such as the renovation of government properties, including the House of Assembly building. The Governor's Group has been allocated 7.66% of the development budget. It should be noted that 37.17% of recurrent allocations will be for compensation of public officers, 24.8% will be for goods and services, and 5.52% for social benefits. To recap, Mr. Speaker, the total budget this year is $397.17 million. This will comprise of $337 million for recurrent expenditure, $39.4 million capital expenditure, $5.85 million in contributions to various statutory funds, and $14.96 million towards repayment of the principal on our debt. In 2022, we estimate development expenditure to be $39.4 million. This amount comprises of $7.2 million in capital acquisitions and $32.19 million in infrastructure development across the territory. Central government will be responsible for 65% or $25.75 million of the infrastructure development, while the Recovery Development Agency will handle 35% or $13.65 million. Total expenditure for 2022 is estimated to be $397.17 million, an increase of $13.58 million from last year's revised budget estimate of $383.5 million, and $698,000 less than 2020 revised estimated expenditure of $397.87 million. Mr. Speaker, I know that I've taken some time to present just a snapshot of some of the work that has been done, intentionally done. Because, Mr. Speaker, we cannot look at the absence of noise and figure there was a lack of activity. And we must also look ahead and see that despite our limited resources, we have high demands, but yet we continue to plow ahead. Mr. Speaker, this is just a snapshot of some of the work that has been done by your government, its agencies and departments over the past year, as well as continue to navigate the uncertainties and threats for COVID-19. The projects and programs mentioned for 2022 are also some of the highlights, but by no means reflects the full scope of the work that is planned for the upcoming fiscal year. Ministerial colleagues will elaborate on the accomplishments and work plans for their respective portfolios. It is my hope that this presentation will assist the public in understanding the wide volume and range of work that their government has been engaged in, and which we will be performing in our continued service to them. I trust that they will also have a clearer picture of how their tax dollars are being managed, and see that their government is exercising prudence, that we are transparent, and we are accountable. As always, I urge members of the public to take note of the initiatives that are on the horizon and to position themselves so that they can access the benefits and opportunities that will be coming their way, especially as these relate to opportunities for employment, business, and self-development, innovation, and even in green energy. This is how you stimulate an economy for sustainable prosperity. The real economic stimulus that this country needs can only come from the government stimulating innovation, entrepreneurship, diversification, and human capital development in partnership with our people. Our foreparents did it before, and we can do it again. That is what our foreparents did, and that is what we must do again. Despite the challenges, and there were many and continue to be many in COVID-19, the Virgin Islands economy remains strong and resilient. We understand that there's plenty more to be done. We understand because of COVID-19, there's still quite a bit of people that are hurting. But Mr. Speaker, we also know that we're going to continue to rebound together. Look at all we have done together. Your government is always looking for opportunities for continuous improvement. Furthering the development of the Virgin Islands and her people is consistent with our obligations to our foreparents and to our future generations of Virgin Islanders, and these are obligations we hold sacred. Our Virgin Islands face many threats, natural and man-made, but with our rich history as our inspiration and our vision as our beacon, we know that with the determined spirit of our people and the guidance and protection of our God, no challenge is insurmountable, especially when we are united in purpose. Mr. Speaker, for this, I now commit the 2022 budget into the hands of God so that He can multiply His favor and prosperity on us as a people and as a country. I thank Him for what He has allowed us to do in 2021 and 2020 in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has posed some challenges, but He also brought some new opportunities. And I look forward to a fruitful and healthy deliberation by this honorable House. Mr. Speaker, I thank you, and from this budget address, I hope that the public, piece by piece, will digest it and recognize that this government has not been sleeping and has not been sitting on its laurels. It has been doing much, much meaningful work to advance the people of the Virgin Islands, to put us to a new level. And even if you do not feel it is so, just look at what I was able to read for you today. And I had plenty more, but I give you just a tad bit. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the bill shortly entitled Appropriation 2022 Act 2021 be now read a second time. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I call upon the clerk to read the bill for a second time.
This act may be cited as the Appropriation 2022 Act 2021 and shall come into force on the first day of January 2022.
Thank you. I call upon the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, be it resolved that the annual estimates for the year 2022 be referred to the Standing Finance Committee in accordance with Standing Order 67. Mr. Speaker, I move a motion that the debate on the merits and principles of the bill entitled Appropriation 2022 Act 2021 be deferred until a later date Mr. Speaker, so I'll move that motion first.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
Thank you. I call again on the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, be it resolved that the annual estimates for the year 2022 be referred to the Standing Finance Committee in accordance with Standard Order 67. Mr. Speaker, I so move the motion.
Page 12 on top, the blue.
What, the second reading, you mean? Okay. All right, Mr. Speaker, let's do this second reading of it.
Blue.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, let me move now to make sure that we move into the motion, Mr. Speaker. I move that the debate on the merits and principle of the bill entitled Appropriation 2022, Act 2021 be deferred until a later date. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that the debates on the merits and principles of the bill entitled Appropriation 2022 Act 2021 be deferred until a later date. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. The motion is passed. I call again on the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to beg that the following motion be resolved that the annual estimates for the year 2022 be referred to the Standing Finance Committee in accordance with Standing Order Section 67.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
Thank you. A motion has been moved and seconded that the annual estimate for the year 2022 be referred to the Standing Finance Committee in accordance with Standing Order 67. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. This House is now in committee.